If your name is James and you're a king and you have lots of money, what are you going to do with it? I know. Make a Bible translation. Welcome to Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan, the King James Version of the Bible. Is a valuable version dedicated to King James in 1611. This being 2020, that's 409 years ago. King James financed the scholars and the efforts to bring to the English-speaking people the very best translation possible. I think they did a great job. 409 years later, there's still lots of people reading the King James Bible. What is the King James Bible, and how is it translated, and why is it still valuable to us today? Well, first I want to talk about my Bibles. I've only got 3 of them here, but this was my first full Bible. It's a beautiful little small font Bible, but it's King James. This Bible is really nice. My brother bought it for me on my birthday when I was 16 years old. And it's got great leather and great maps, a tremendous concordance, and helps in the back, and it's King James. I underlined some of these, and just recently I got a new Life in the Spirit study Bible. It's out of print now, but it has the Fire Bible notes in it, and it's King James. The King James Version of the Bible is a trustworthy version. It was the standard version for centuries to English-speaking peoples. In fact, when the King James Version of the Bible was translated from Latin, it took the information from another high-speed version that was done over 1,300 years earlier in 382. Jerome translated the Bible into Latin. That's called the Latin Vulgate. And it was done to produce a Bible so that everybody who spoke Latin could read it. And the Latin Vulgate became the standard. And the King James was so widely accepted that it went through many iterations and updates over that 409-year time period. You can search it on Wikipedia. You can search, there's plenty of sites on the internet that you can study the history of the King James Bible. It's very interesting. But what are some of the things about it that make it so good to study and neat to study and even to read as your regular Bible? Well, for one, the reading of the English is very poetic. They were careful to choose the right phrases and the right concepts to convey the rich truth of the gospel and the biblical text. It reads poetically. I think maybe one of those reasons is because it's had a tremendous influence on American literature, British literature, classical music. I think of Handel's Messiah. And I think of the Lord's Prayer and the great hymns of the church that take those phrases and concepts from the King James Bible. It, in terms of Christian materials, Sunday school materials, Christian books, and poetry, and again, music, grabbing themes from the King James Bible. Even euphemisms in the English language that have a King James-esque sound. You reap what you sow. The borrower is a servant to the lender. An eye for an eye, right? History, law, and medicine, making references to the King James phraseology. Proverbs, for example, still widely quoted using King James language. But I think one of the big reasons that King James is still valuable is because it's used, because so many believers were discipled using King James Bibles along the way, as a child, as a youth, as an adult. In fact, in our fellowship, we had we have a program called Teen Bible Quiz, and when I was in Teen Bible Quiz, the only version you could memorize was King James. So I have whole books of the Bible memorized in King James, and certainly lots of passages from 1st and 2nd Peter and the whole book of James, 1st, 2nd Thessalonians, Romans, and Matthew. So when I go to search in a Bible software, if I have another version, sometimes that won't even pop up because I have to switch to King James because I have a King James memory. And I suspect I'm not the only one. So the King James Bible is valuable for a lot of reasons. It's a valuable tool to find verses that you're familiar with. It's a valuable tool to just read and enjoy. But it's also important to remember that the King James Version, just like every other version, is a translation. And it's a translation from the Greek and the Hebrew. Certainly the later versions are. The original versions, of course, were translated from Jerome's Latin version. And now we've got more Greek manuscripts that have been discovered in those 409 years. Now we have lots of good tools to study the original Greek and Hebrew, and we should keep coming up with new versions. But the King James Version will always be valuable because for English-speaking peoples, it was the Bible, literally, for centuries. Enjoy reading your King James Version. Get one with lots of good maps in it. Get one with lots of good helps in it. And thanks for watching Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to be reminded of new content. Maps!